The region eats, sleeps, and breathes esports. Whether it's Overwatch, or of course, League. But when it comes to tech FPSs, they seem cursed. This is the tragedy of Korean Valorant. To talk about Valorant, you, as always, first need to talk about Counter-Strike. If you don't like CS and are just here for the Valorant content, there's a timestamp on your screen, but I highly suggest you watch anyway because it gives much needed backstory and shows just how long this has been going on. The story of Korean Counter-Strike begins all the way back in 2001 when the game was featured in the ever popular PC Bang or cafes, basically gaming cafes, which are synonymous with the region today. CS 1.5 to be specific was popular in these cafes as the game was able to allow one computer to be able to host multiple servers at once. PC Bang companies would buy many copies of the game and then make a profit off it indefinitely after, as it's a one-time purchase. Because, you know, we have to remember this is the early 2000s and these are like physical CDs, like what are they doing? In late 2003, with the release of Counter-Strike 1.6, it also saw the release of Steam, the online video game distributor I'm sure we're all familiar with today. This essentially made the business model of these PC Bang cafes worthless, as on top of the release of a new game and engine came a law which required Bang cafes to pay by the minute to play 1.6 instead of just a one-time purchase like 1.5. This basically killed CSGO in Korea as the cafes weren't just gonna waste all that money. However, the CS scene did see a resurgence with the release of CSGO in 2012, but they'd have to start from the bottom as their non-existent presence in games like 1.6 and Source would lead them to being on the back foot. The first big tournament for a Korean team was the DreamHack Stockholm 2015 Asian Qualifier, which featured Monster.kr, a team who had some notable names in the scene such as Zyne, HSK, and Argency. Remember Argency. They didn't do much in the tournament and bottomed out in round 1 against that team. The roster would basically never do anything under the Monster banner, but would get acquired by Project MVP in November of 2015, a reputable Korean esports org in many games such as League, Dota, and Heroes of the Storm that had the hope of the region. They would start off 2016 by winning many C-tier tournaments, coming first in the Ding It Far East Asia Invitational, the ASUS Republic of Gamers Master 2016 South Korean Qualifier, Jesus these names, and in VSL Beginning, another all-Korean tournament. They proved that they were the best Korean team, fighting against mainly China, who was the Asian representation of CS at the time. They would earn a spot in the, oh my god, Star Ladder I-League Star Series Season 2 Major. Dude, I cannot with these names, man. What is going on? This major featured big names like C9, NIP, G2 Astralis, Na'Vi, FaZe, the works. This was Korea's first chance to show off what they could do on the international CS stage. And they blew it. They finished dead last. They would then come second in the China Top 2016 Major, where they would fall to Fnatic Academy. Yeah, not the best end of 2016, as they clearly still, despite better placements in regional majors, were lacking compared to the best from other regions. In 2017, they'd win VSL one more time before going again to the Star Ladder I-League Star Series Season 3. Here, they would again bomb out, not making it out of groups. This would be the last straw, and the team would rebrand into MVP PK after July 2017. All the top Korean CS players were on this team, such as Zyne, Zeph, Glow, Solo, HSK, and Zeta. In 2018, they'd come second in the WESG Asia Pacific Pacific qualifier and look great going into the Associate Major. There they would top their Stage 1 group and make it out of groups in Stage 2 to make it to playoffs. They seemed to have momentum but would end up losing to Fnatic, the eventual winners. At least it was real Fnatic this time. They had to get better, placing 4th in the Star Ladder and Imba TV Invitational and 1st in the CSGO Asia Summit before going one last time to an S-tier international major, the ESL Pro League Season 7 Finals. This would be their last chance for 2018, and they came in last. I mean, like, the absolute worst you can do, they did. After this disappointment going into 2019, there would be a roster shakeup and MVP PK would bring in some familiar names. The roster would win some B-tier tournaments in 2019 before switching to Valorant in 2020.
It's one of the greatest games I've played in a very, very, very long time.
I want to be officially announcing that I will be pursuing Valorant over Counter-Strike.
I said this the first time I called 10. This is his world, and we're just living in it.
Our first player ever signed to our Valorant team, Tico.
MVP PK would turn into a team most of you have heard before. Vision Strikers. They would sign Zest to replace Cheese and have Chermy and Argency, the old Monster Pro, as their coaches. The final roster consisted of some pretty impressive players like Stax.
Look at this guy! Look at Stax! Oh my god, Stax does not give a damn!
RB.
Johnny goes in all these swings! But watch this!
Low.
One door spot 7, he lights them both up! The headshot!
King. And Zest.
Killed himself. Falls to his own name, but Zest makes it okay. And Zest gets 3.
DRX are going to take the lead in overtime. Holy smokes, Zest.
This Korean powerhouse of a team came into the scene with high expectations, and they delivered. First at the WESL X2 Nation Tournament. First at Clan Battle 1, 2, and 3. First in the Extremist Land Zawi Cup, Clan Masters 2020, Africa TV Asia Showdown, ePulse Royal Sea Cup, all 3 Clan Battle Act 2 tournaments, the AW Extreme Masters Asia Invitational, and First Strike Korea. 3-0, by the way. Absolute fucking domination.
16 titles. This is the team that everyone's looking at from the West. Korea going to be good at Valorant. Will Korea be a top Valorant region? They've done well in other esports recently in FPS internationally. There's still questions, right? Can they contend with the West?
They would ride this wave into 2021 with the introduction of the Valorant Challengers League, where they would win the Korea Stage 1 Masters and all of its qualifiers. Vision Strikers couldn't lose. In fact, they hadn't in quite a while. A record that will not be touched anytime soon. They went 102-0. They didn't drop one series since they joined the esport. Going into the Korea Stage 2 Challengers, the stakes couldn't be higher, as whoever won got a spot at Masters Reykjavik, Valorant's first ever international LAN. Series after series, they won and won, but all good things must come to an end.
That is map number 1, 13-9 Nuturn. Come check again. And that is it. Oh my god, Nuturn eliminates Vision Strikers.
Nuturn would eventually win the tournament and go on to compete in Masters Reykjavik. Now Nuturn would be the Korean representation in Iceland as opposed to Vision Strikers, and they had the pressure of all of Korea. The team had Solo, one of the highest earning CS pros, and Lakia, a name you may be familiar with today. Lakia was actually supposed to be on Vision Strikers but got sent to Nuturn instead. Nuturn would win their games against Sharks Esports and Version 1 and remain in the upper bracket all the way until they met Sentinels. Sentinels were heavy favorites since before the major even started. It wasn't even close, and in the losers finals they had to beat Fnatic. A win here would show how dominant Korea could be in Valorant, like they never were in CS. They each won their own map picks, and it would be taken down to map 3 on Haven.
It's now or never, and the time, it's all gone. Boaster closes it out anyways. 13-8 we go.
They were sent home with a 3rd place trophy. Not a bad showing from the region, but still not a win. And Nuturn would never get a chance in another major ever again. But Vision Strikers would. In May, a roster shakeup brought in Buzz, Mako, and Lakia to replace Glow, who would transfer to a coach role. This new roster would go and win Korea Stage 3 Challengers, qualifying the roster for its first ever international LAN in Masters Berlin, where they would be the youngest team of them all. Vision Strikers would top their group before playing Gambit in the first round. They would get walked on their map pick Bind, losing 13-2. They take Gambit's map pick on Split before losing the decider on Icebox 13-8. Gambit would go on to win the tournament, and Korea, despite having the most players in the tournament would not have one player get past the first round. Vision Strikers would have one more chance to win at Champions 2021. This was the biggest tournament in Valorant history up to this point, and the culmination of a full year of VCT competition. A win here would mean Korea would be forever etched in the history of a tactical FPS for the first time. Vision Strikers would easily beat Full Sense 2-0 before going on to play Fnatic in the winners match of their group. They would each win their map pick before going on to their decider, where Fnatic won it on Fracture 13-6. In the decider group, C9 would get the best of Vision Strikers in 3 games, sending them home in groups. Of the 10 Korean players to play in Champions 2021, on 3 different teams, 1 made it past groups. A change was needed, and the Vision Strikers roster would be acquired by DRX in 2022. Coaches Glow, Termi, and Argency, and players Stax, Arby, Zest, Buzz, and Mako, along with Lakia, who would soon leave for Exist, joined DRX in 2022. They join with a fire lit under them. They have yet to reach the semis, let alone win an international event, despite consistently being the best in their region. The first test of this roster under the new DRX banner would be at the VCT 2022 Korea Stage 1 Challengers Major, where, again, they would come first after absolutely dominating groups and beating the next best team 2-0 and then 3-0 in the grand finals. This team was so clearly the best in Korea, and if anyone were going to win, it would be them. Their first place finish qualified them for the 2022 Masters Reykjavik, the exact tournament they had missed out on last year. In DRX fashion, they dominated their group, taking down Zeta Division and NIP 2-0. Then they would meet Paper X in round 1. These teams have had a rivalry since the early years of Valorant in 2020 and 2021 during the Vision Strikers days, so this matchup is always fun to watch.
DRX is pretty annoying in their playstyle, and it's just textbook Valorant, the blueprint for how you should play.
다시 만났을 때 그냥 공격적인 걸 조심하면 될 것 같아요.
On one end, you have DRX's methodical, slow, and tactical approach to the game, outsmarting their opponents and winning with outstanding strategies and set plays. And on the other end is Paper X, an explosive and W-holding team who plays wild, out-of-meta comms, and is super unpredictable playstyle. They would trade each other's map picks before going to the decider on Ascent. DRX would come out on top 13-8, sending Paper X down to the losers bracket. DRX would move on to play Optic, the NA super team. They would trade maps before heading to Split. It was do or die with some incredible plays on both sides. In the end, it would go all the way to overtime, and Optic would win 15-13. DRX would go down to the losers bracket where they would play Zeta Division, a team they stomped in groups. Seriously, 13-2 and 13-3 were the scores. Stomped. They had this in the bag until, in typical Korean Valorant fashion, tragic. Optic would go on to win the major, and DRX would be left behind yet again. Coming home, they would continue to dominate the region in the 2022 Korea Stage 2 Challengers event, where they would, Jesus Christ, they would go 7-0 in groups, and then continue to the main bracket, where they would win 2-0, 2-0 again, and in the grand finals, 3-0. It's kind of insane how much better DRX was than everyone else in the region. Like, most of these games are pug stomps to them. This would qualify them for yet another international event, Masters Copenhagen. Dominance in Korea doesn't mean anything if they don't win internationally. They would head into Copenhagen feeling good and topping their group once again, beating Northception 2-0 and Fun Plus Phoenix 2-1, winning the last 2 games 13-6. DRX would meet Leviathan in round 1, and would each handily win their map picks before DRX would take it 13-11 on Haven. DRX would meet with Optic in round 2, the previous major winners and the team who sent them to the losers bracket in Reykjavik. DRX would dominate Optic on their own map pick 13-4, and it looked like they could finally get past the semifinals. Optic, however, would have different plans and do the exact same thing on Breeze. Bind would be the decider, and it would take 24 rounds to decide the winner. Optic would win 13-11, sending DRX down yet again. But their tournament wasn't over yet, and they played FPX in their first loser bracket match. They had no trouble beating this team in groups, so it should be an easy series. Despite that fact, after falling to Optic again, they would fall to a team they had already beaten groups. Again. Just like Iceland, DRX looks great in groups, just to lose against the teams when it's elimination worthy. To make it even worse, FPX would go and win the entire major after being sent down to the losers bracket in the first round. Champions 2022 would be the last and biggest major of the year yet again. And yet again, it would be DRX's last chance to win a major in 2022. As expected by this point, DRX would top their group, taking down Furia and 100 Thieves 2-0. Although these were very close games in each series. DRX would play FPX in round 1, a rematch, to make up for what happened in Copenhagen. It would be a hard-fought game 1 on the set. DRX would take the momentum into their own map pick and decidedly win and move on to play Loud in round 2. Loud would win game 1 and then destroy DRX on their own map pick on Haven to take the series 2-0. Their first opponents in the lower bracket would be a hungry Fnatic team, and DRX would lose their own map pick again in game 1. DRX would now be 1 game away from elimination, 1 game away from coming home empty-handed again. Ascent would be a hard-fought match. Fnatic, despite having every advantage, would lose in overtime, and this series would need 3 games.
Sats with the ult, and he does. Sats has got 1-2 RB with the both. 87 HP. No! The Red Bull clutch for DRX. In the face of history, they write a new future. They advance.
They won, and moving on to lower bracket semifinal, DRX would find a familiar foe in FPX. Last time they'd lost against FPX despite winning 2-0 earlier in the tournament. Could history repeat itself? DRX had set a fire through the lower bracket, and now had Optic standing in the way between them and Korea's first finals appearance. Optic were looking dominant, winning game 1 and taking game 2, where DRX lost 13-5 on their own map pick to go down 2-0 in the series.
It's just locked down!
They would now have to win 3 straight to keep the hopes of an entire region alive. Fracture would be close, but DRX would eventually win it, taking it to their second map pick on Ascent. DRX would handily win 13-6, taking the series to 5 games. Could this be it for Korea?
Also being committed here. What? Spray down! And a lockdown will not do squat! 5 bullets. Johnny goes for his army swings! And wins the 1v1! Look at the pinch from B! Yep. Squeezing them right where they lie. And still Buzz, a whiff of the shot he pulls down, but he can't. And what discipline, what patience, the play is made in the spray down, and a reset of the aim for Zest, all on the shoulders of RB. Their rightful spot in the grand finals, and there it is.
Heartbreak as they go home in the lower bracket finals and have again gone through another year without an international victory. After the tournament, it was announced that DRX, along with T1 and Gen G, would be a VCT franchise team moving forward in 2023. T1 was first an NA team, starting with, like many other teams, former CS pros in the early years of 2020, with names you may know like Steel, Skadoodle, Crashies, and Victor. The team would transfer over to the APAC region to eventually become a partner in it, along with DRX and Gen G. 2023 wouldn't begin well for them, however, as a roster of Zeta, Munchkin, Ban, Saya Player, and Carpe, a very talented and optimistic roster, would get bounced in round 1 of Lock-in Sao Paulo. The VCT Pacific League wouldn't go much better, and after besting Gen G in 3 games, they would lose 2-0 to PaperX and survive a little longer before getting eliminated by DRX. They would lose again in the groups of Masters Tokyo and continue that trend by coming dead last in Champions 2023 at the end of the year. Gen G didn't even qualify for the end of the year tournament. It was clear that among the 3 Korean teams in franchising, DRX was the one true hope of the region. Speaking of which, how was their 2023? As for every team, to kick off franchising, Riot hosted an abnormal tournament, format-wise, Lock-in Sao Paulo. This wild major would consist of every franchise team in a single elimination 5-round tournament. 32 teams would be competing in this tournament, the most by far in Valorant history, and still to this day. All of this, by the way, in front of a passionate Brazilian crowd. What a start. DRX would make easy work of BBL Esports and instantly get halted by a hot Cloud9 who had just beat PaperX 2-0. They'd fight back and eventually end this series with a stomp on Icebox 13-2. In the quarterfinals, DRX would face Talon Esports. They would each take their own map picks before moving on to Icebox. DRX's Icebox seemed formidable in this tournament, and they again won the decider and move on to the semis. Loud would be their opponent in a first of 3 and would wreck them on Pearl 13-5. DRX would pick Icebox because why not, it's working, but lose on that too, bringing them down 2-0 on a best of 3 yet again. They needed some magic to stay in, and they found it on Split.
And as well help him out, the swing from heaven, readjust though, repurposeful, and my goodness, there's still life in this squad.
And again, on Fraction.
Behind Mako, but will Mako contain? And that's DRX finding themselves on map point, and he knows it precisely, right in his head, and there you have it!
They had brought it back and found themselves again, 2 tournaments in a row, a game away from the finals.
Cross, and he tags one! Silence enters the arena, and Kalazine claims the kill, and it's all up to Stacks. Back four! What an insane clutch by Stacks! Dabroka, reposition is not there! And now have done it!
Going home after the loss, DRX had now competed in 6 majors over the course of 3 years if you include their days on Vision Strikers, and over those 3 years have consistently been the best in their entire region, but have appeared to be cursed to lose internationally, never making it to a final. 2023, however, was different. It was franchising. This year could be their year. In the 2023 Pacific League, DRX would do the ritual topping of the group, going 8-1 after 8 weeks of the regular season. The rivals in PaperX would be 2nd, T1 3rd, and Gen.G 6th. DRX would win against Team Secret, but got sent down by PaperX, who destroyed them 2-0. Neither game was close. DRX would beat T1 in 5 games, and then take it to PaperX. It would prove to be a close series, as DRX would take the first 2 maps and PaperX the next 2. But PaperX would take the victory in the end, and go with a higher seed to Masters Tokyo. DRX, after making it out of groups, would meet PaperX immediately, and would lose again 2-0, getting sent down to the losers bracket. There they would face Energy, which had the old Optic Core that they had lost to so many times in previous tournaments. It would not go well for DRX, going home in round 1. They still, however, qualified for champions and could try and prove that they deserve to be franchised, that they are still one of, if not the best teams in the game. DRX would top their group, are you surprised? And then demolish Billy 2-0 in round 1. DRX would then get a taste of their own medicine and get demolished by EG 2-0, losing 13-4 on the last map. In the lower bracket, they would face Fnatic, the team that had won the last 2 majors. DRX would have to pass them to have a hope of seeing an international trophy. It started off well, with a 13-1 smackdown on Fnatic's own map pick Bind. However, it seems DRX loses more than they win on their own map picks, as Fnatic would take them down on Haven. 1 game to go, season on the line, we would go to split. It wasn't close, and after a 13-6 loss in the final game of 2023, the roster, due to lackluster performance, would get a shake-up in December as RB and Zest would move to inactive positions, with Flashback joining the team. Bane, hey, that's almost my name, would join in March of 2024, and Foxy9 would continue to aid the roster since joining in 2022. This new roster wouldn't even qualify for the first international major, and it seemed the DRX chapter of Korean Valorant domination was quickly closing. But as one chapter ends, another begins.
Tell me somebody how long he will be on my mind.
Considering dropping down, but no texture. Over and clean! Picks up all 3 to put them 6 feet under! He's got it done! 13-4, the players already on their feet! Gen.G, they have controlled chaos and carnage!
The team DRX lost to in the 2024 Pacific Kickoff was Gen.G, another Korean team I've barely mentioned so far. And there's a very good reason for that, and it's because this team was garbage. They would rarely make it to international majors across all of Valorant history, let alone make it out of groups when they got there. But seemingly out of nowhere, this roster would beat both Team Secret and Zeta Division in play-ins and move on to the playoffs. They would face DRX, and despite DRX topping the group yet again, they would beat them 2-0. The best Korean team of the past 4 years just lost to Gen.G. Gen.G would then move on to the finals against the reigning Pacific League champions, PaperX, where they would surely lose.
He spots him! He's got it done! 13-4, the players already on their feet!
What just happened? This team came from nowhere and just beat DRX and PaperX pretty convincingly to become the best team in the Pacific region. Well, to start, there was a roster change. The team consists now of Lakia, a name who's been present in the Korean Valorant scene since the start, Munchkin, the old IGL from T1, Meteor, Texture, and Karen, a player who hadn't played professional Valorant before December 2023. This guy was a pro for 2.5 months at the time of Pacific Kickoff. Going into Masters Madrid, Gen.G looked solid. Madrid would have a Swiss-style format before going into playoffs, which looked like this. The winners would go here and fight the winners, losers the same, but vice versa. Then the winners of the losers and the losers of the winners would face each other, and the top 4 teams advance on to the playoffs. Gen.G would play their first series against Loud. They would beat Loud on their own map pick, but would have the same happen to them, taking the series to 3 games. They would close it out easily on Ascent 13-5. In the winners group, they would play EDG. They would again lose their own map pick, Icebox, but beat EDG easily 13-5 on their map pick split. They would then dominate Breeze, the decider, 13-6. Onto the playoffs, they would continue their momentum in round 1, where they would face PaperX, the team they had beat in the grand finals to kick off. They would take PaperX's map pick off them, and then close that out on Lotus in 2 games. In round 2, they would face Sentinels. Sen would pick Split, a map they had been absolutely dominating on all season. Gen G in dramatic fashion would take down the Kings of Split 13-5. After losing Lotus, it would take Breeze to decide the winner. One amazing thing about Gen G is how deep their map pool is. Lotus, Breeze, Split, Ascent, Icebox, it's outstanding. Compare this to Sentinels, who have 3 or so maps, Breeze not being one of them. This was never going to be close. Gen G would become the first Korean team to make it to a grand final, but they wanted it all. They would end up facing Sentinels again in the grand finals, with a huge advantage. As the higher seed, they alone would ban 2 maps, and then after that, also pick the map for game 1. This advantage is crazy enough for any team, let alone a team with such a deep map pool against a team whose map pool is so shallow. Map 1 will be Breeze, a heavily favored one for Gen G.
With Munchkin, smoke down, grabbed and out, dashing forward, but Munchkin again, they weren't expecting it right from behind. Gen G taking map 1.
They would win it 13-8 before going on to Bind. If Gen G won this game here, they would surely win Madrid and be the first Korean team to win an international major.
Defuse Carrot, 2 players left, another kill, found and out and defended. Meteor sticking all the way down Hammond, but that will be it.
In a closely fought game, they would lose in overtime, but they still had full advantage in this series, and they would take it to Sen on Ascent.
Found, it's all being added up, right click, kills here, needs to stick in, right click, gamble incorrect. Oh, the body blow!
Winning 13-8, they had the chance to end it all on Split, but Sentinels had other plans.
Flash repeat, no, not through main! Adjustment necessary, and second comes up with the goods and more! With 4 ripped away!
It would all come down to Icebox. The region on its shoulders, Gen G, is 13 rounds away from history. But Korea's cursed.
Let's go! Let's go! Sen City! Here to play! Here to stay!
With every advantage, they still lost. More likely than not, Gen G will win enough in the Pacific regular season to make it to each major this year. But will they be able to win those majors? The VCT Madrid Grand Finals could have been anyone's game. However, the whole tourney didn't have many heavy hitters, so to speak, in terms of 2023 talent, but it still had some amazing teams, and I think Gen G can definitely make some deep runs in future 2024 majors. Masters Shanghai is coming in late May. Could Gen G win it? Could DRX make a comeback like they did after missing Reykjavik in 2021? Could T1 come out of nowhere? Or is Korea just destined for tragedy? Thank you so much for watching this mini doc on the tragedy of Korean Valorant. I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that have gotten this far in the video. Thank you so much, it really means a lot. This video took over a month to make and was really a lot of work, so if you enjoyed, please consider sharing the video and liking the video, maybe even subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I didn't think of this idea was actually given to me by a friend, so I just want to give a quick thank you to Sam. I'm not going to say his last name, I don't want to dox him. It means a lot, bro. This isn't the usual content I make. If you want to see that, it's in the attached videos. It's some funny stuff, it's some fun stuff, but if this doc does well, I will definitely make more documentaries in the future, so maybe leave some ideas for documentaries down in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, I love you all, peace.